Why does God allow suffering? Why do some prayers seem to echo in silence? Why do good people endure loss, illness, and heartbreak, while others seem untouched? And maybe the deeper question is this: what if your suffering is not meaningless? What if it is not a punishment, but a mission? There is something in us that resists this idea. Pain feels like interruption, like something has gone wrong. We naturally assume that suffering must be avoided, escaped, or at the very least explained away. But the Christian faith dares to say something different. It does not deny suffering, it transforms it. And few lives reveal this more clearly than Saint Padre Pio. Before we look at his extraordinary experiences, we need to understand something essential. The Church does not teach that suffering is good in itself. Pain, loss, and death entered the world through sin. They are not part of God's original design. But here is what many people overlook. God does not waste suffering. Through Jesus Christ, suffering can become something more. It can be united to love. It can participate in redemption. It can become a channel of grace, not only for ourselves, but for others. If you want to grow in your understanding of the Catholic faith throughout the church year, subscribe and continue this journey with us. At the heart of Christianity is not the avoidance of suffering, but the transformation of it. Christ did not come to eliminate the cross. He carried it. And in doing so, he gave it meaning. This changes how we see everything. When someone experiences illness, it is no longer just a physical struggle. When someone faces rejection or failure, it is no longer just emotional pain. When someone grieves a loss, it is no longer just absence. All of it can be united to Christ. St. Paul writes in Colossians 1:24 that he rejoices in his sufferings because they participate in what is lacking in Christ's afflictions. Not because Christ's sacrifice was insufficient, but because we are invited to share in it. This is the mystery. God allows us to cooperate in redemption. Now enter Padre Pio. He did not seek suffering. He did not glorify pain for its own sake, but he accepted what God permitted, and that changed everything. For 50 years, he bore the stigmata, the visible wounds of Christ. These wounds were not symbolic. They were physical, painful, and constant. Yet they were also a sign of something invisible: union. Padre Pio's suffering was not isolated. It was offered. He united his pain to the suffering of Christ for the salvation of souls. He spent long hours in confession, guiding people back to God. He prayed intensely. He carried not only his own pain, but the burdens of others. There is something deeper happening here. The stigmata were visible, but the real power was hidden. It was mercy at work through suffering. Many people misunderstand this. Some think suffering means God is distant. Others think it means they are being punished. But the life of Padre Pio challenges both ideas. Suffering, in the Christian sense, is not a sign of abandonment. It can be a sign of participation. Another misunderstanding is this: that suffering has no value unless it is dramatic or extraordinary. But most suffering is quiet, hidden, interior. The daily frustrations, the chronic pain no one sees, the emotional wounds carried in silence, these matter. They can be offered. That is where this teaching becomes personal. You do not need stigmata to live this mystery. You only need willingness. When you face something difficult, instead of asking only, "Why is this happening?" you can also ask, "How can this be offered?" A moment of patience in suffering can become an act of love. Enduring a hardship without bitterness can become a prayer. Trusting God in uncertainty can become a powerful witness. This does not remove the pain, but it gives it direction. Padre Pio once said that suffering is the greatest gift God can give a soul, because through it the soul becomes more like Christ. That is not easy to accept. It goes against our instincts, but it reveals a truth. Love is proven most deeply when it costs something. And this leads us back to the question we started with. What if your suffering is not useless? What if, right now, in ways you cannot see, your endurance, your trust, your quiet offering is bringing grace into the world? You may never see the full impact. Padre Pio himself did not always see it, but the fruits were real. Lives were changed. Souls were reconciled. Mercy flowed, not despite suffering, but through it. God does not ask you to enjoy suffering. He does not ask you to pretend it does not hurt. He invites you to unite it, to place it in His hands, to let it become part of something greater. And that changes everything, because suffering, when united to Christ, is never wasted. It becomes love in its most costly form. It becomes prayer without words. It becomes a hidden force of mercy in the world. So the next time suffering enters your life, do not rush to see it only as an obstacle. It may be something more, not a punishment, not an accident, but a mission, one that, like Padre Pio's, carries a hidden power far beyond what the eye can see.